today's video, we're going to be taking a look here at our modeled guidance as we're transitioning into the springtime. It's officially March 21st, 21 days into meteorological spring. I think we're at like the calendar spring now, so we should actually be there by now. Sorry, I was choking on my water a second ago. I don't know why I just acted like nothing happened. As you can see, as we reach this afternoon, we do have a storm system, 985 millibars, kind of moving onshore to your southwest region of the United States. We can see heavier snowfall there for the Sierra Nevadas throughout the desertous regions there of Nevada. And then we see into Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, and even Arizona there. So we see a lot of those southwest four corner states dealing with this snowfall that is far stretching from this low pressure center. This is actually dragging our jet stream down. And what this is going to do is, since this is digging down so deep right here, so we see it digging right there, this is going to kind of lead towards a lot of ridging here in the east. It's going to lift up everything, and we're going to see that over the coming days. So we will see that happening down the road here. Once we take a look at tomorrow afternoon, this is going to be by time we're reaching maybe 2 p.m. or so. We see a lot of this snowfall spread still throughout a lot of the southwest states. So all the way up northward towards Idaho, Wyoming now, but we see through Nevada, California, Utah, Wyoming, Arizona, New Mexico there as well. We see snowfall throughout all of these states as this low has now transferred mostly over to Colorado. So we see this right here. This is leading towards a little bit of a frontal boundary underneath, and definitely this warm front here. And this is causing just this warm air to surge northward, leading way with some showery activity, some thunderstorms as well. And the further this cold air on the west digs down, the more extreme that ridging on the eastern end of things will likely be. So we're seeing this big imbalance here, and this is what causes a flat jet stream to go very curvy here like we see right now. So let's just keep going with this, and even as we reach in towards Thursday afternoon, this is going to be the peak of the warmth in the east. We can see a low pressure center there to the north. This digging trough that we see left over here, and you see how it's digging so far to the southwest, even the jet stream probably being as far south as Southern California there. This is leading towards that warm air pushing as far north as the Canadian border up here in the northeast. And this is leading towards very nice, very warm weather for a lot of the east. As you can see underneath this, we have a stationary front kind of floating down like this, your warm front perhaps about right there. And this leads towards some showery activity throughout a lot of these areas here. So we're seeing that taking place, especially here through the Ohio Valley into the northeast. So on your day on Thursday, March 23rd, that is going to be what we're dealing with there. But outside of that, the temperatures are going to be very, very nice. As we reach in towards Friday here, we see that there is again another low developing here with a warm front, cold front dynamic. We're going to have to see if this cold front outpaces the cold. That happens pretty frequently, and we'll see if that happens. But we see a lot of warm air surging once more. We see snowfall showers through a lot of the Rockies, Cascades there, even down through the Sierra Nevadas. We're seeing that take place. And then we see this cold front kind of outpace the cold, where we still see the cold centered over a lot of your western United States. And this cold front keeps advancing and it gets cut off from that cold. So it's a lot less intense, a lot more just like showers around. We have our low here, and probably the closer you go to that low, the more you're going to be dealing with this precipitation, heavier especially near that low, as it's a 991 actually, so not that weak by any means. We can see that this eventually transfers offshore of the northeast, dealing with some snowfall here for Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, and even New York here as we're reaching in towards Sunday, March 26th, so the very beginning of that week after. We can see that this keeps pushing on. And then we see another low developing here. This one's a little bit interesting. We have maybe a frontal boundary there, maybe a warm front here. Definitely a very interesting look. And we can see that this warm front is progressing, but there's a cold front right behind it. But again, it might outpace that cold. We'll have to see, because the warm air is able to ridge up the east. Here we go. So we finally get a cold front here where the cold is coming in with it. So finally this cold gives way and reaches the eastern United States. And we actually get a pretty intense look here through the southeast with some heavier precipitation, as you can see. Let's keep going, and as we reach into Wednesday, Thursday, there, and the very, very tail end of March, we do have a pretty potent Arctic blast here in the east, as you can see, where this cold is fully able to just engulf into a lot of your mid-Atlantic, a lot of the northern southeast is what I'd call it, and all the way up into the Ohio Valley, Great Lakes, and northeast. That is the regions where we're mostly dealing with this. We do have a high pressure system here, which is leading towards some warmer air for the most part. And we're seeing a lot of this cold air rush down to the east of that high pressure system. We have more high pressure here, which again is causing kind of this type of a flow of things here. High pressure system, but we can see that there's a low here just off shore of California, and I am fairly certain that this is going to be what's going to re-transfer that trough into the west and cause a ridge in the east. We can see that that is already beginning to happen here as we have a jet stream pattern like this. When it's looking this intense, what's probably going to happen is a lot of this warmth is going to push this ridge up and eastward. We'll see a lot of this type of flow, and we're going to see more cold air pushing its way into the west, likely if this type of a scenario happens for the beginning of April. Now, let's take a look at that total precipitation. I want to just dive into this quickly with you guys, and this gives us a full view of where we expect the most storminess. As you can see along the west coast, we see plenty of this storminess. Also through the four corner states there you can see. And then a lot of your more central and eastern United States, we're seeing plenty of this activity as well. But we can also here see the jet stream is doing something like this a majority of the time. We can see that these areas are going to be left a little bit high and dry, likely some higher pressure working its way into these areas. Or at least, you know, for these areas here, which is kind of causing a lot of this to have to move around. And the jet stream is doing this fairly often within the pattern as well. So we get multiple things, basically information to take away from this map alone. Very, very cool stuff to me, at least. Total snowfall here, we also get a view of the jet stream. It's crazy to me how this is always kind of a thing. I've never realized this until this year, but you can really tell what the jet stream is doing. I mean, it's pretty clear that the jet stream is pretty locked into a look something like this. A lot of this model run, at least when there's snow around, so we see a lot of this snow and cold able to work its way into the mountainous west. And then really it's pretty exclusive for the upper Midwest and then far northeast here for snowfall in the east. We maybe have some snow showers around for the Ohio Valley, a little bit of the Mid-Atlantic and Appalachian Mountains, but that is it as far as these areas within this primarily ridge is what it is. Some sort of high pressure set up somewhere in here, causing in general a lot of this warm flow for these areas. So a lot of this activity, probably a high somewhere out here as well. And in general, we see a lot of warmth in the east as a result of most of this. Now, as we take a look at your American model, we call this one the GFS. If you've tuned in with us, you've heard that term. Or if you know anything about weather models, you obviously know what the GFS is, but it is the American model. We see pretty much the same thing. I want to see when there's any differences. Well, here around the 29th, as you can see, we have a snowstorm setting up for the east here. There's some snowfall along this kind of Appalachian range here. And we see this cold air moving in just like we saw on that European model, although we have a major 9, I'm going to draw this for some reason, I don't know why. 981 millibar low pressure center there, and this is causing major snowfall for a lot of your East Coast, Boston, New York City, Long Island, down through New Jersey and Delaware even, as we see damming cold air because, again, these low pressure systems move in this way. So we see the cold air damming to the west of them. That's why you always see snowfall to the west, because it's pushing the cold air south down the coast here, and that's why we're seeing these areas see snow. And then it's pushing northward with this warm air where offshore of even Maine, we're seeing rainfall. So definitely a very interesting look. We see that take over and basically eventually move out. They follow this up with another major snowstorm right behind it on the 31st. Very cold air in the east. But we do see a massive ridge take place as we have a strong low here over the upper Midwest, and what this does is causes a cold front, warm front look here, and this allows for this warm air to extend far northward on the eastern front of all of this. As we continue this on, we see another trough move in perhaps around April 6th according to this model, as we get a flow something like this. So another major Arctic blast perhaps for the first week of April, and we see some storminess moving in along this. This is certainly an interesting look here from the GFS. We're going to take it with a grain of salt, though, because this model tends to be a little bit all over the place. But if this is correct, I would say this is a very, very interesting pattern we find ourselves in at the end of this model run. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe as we do upload every single day. Also, you can hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload, so you never miss one. Like the video if you enjoyed it, leave a comment down below, and I will see you guys in the next video.